Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Nick from MMA Pixels here with the California Grizzly, Marc Thompson, 2-0 heavyweight. He's going to be going for the 209 Beatdown heavyweight title November 17th at Modesto Century Plaza against Omar El-Sahlah. How you doing, Marc?
His name's pretty tough to say too, yeah. But pretty good, man. Thanks for having me. You're gonna go 3 for 3, all the fights, huh?
Right, yeah. All finishes too, right?
Yeah, all finishes for one submission, one TKO. So,
One of them you made it to the second round, all 35 seconds.
yeah. It was about 30 seconds into the second round. Probably should have finished it in the first, but ran out of time.
So how's training going for this fight?
It's smooth. It's pretty much exactly the way my other camp was. I was training, I was training a little different. I was working on a lot more striking just because I thought I was gonna be fighting Antonio. But I think he's turning pro. So now I just kind of turned it around and just kind of got back to just training the way I do, a lot of ground and pound. I am working on my stand up. Past two fights haven't really been able to showcase it, but I'd rather win than win and look good doing it. So pretty standard stuff. Really working on my cardio. I've seen this guy. He's kind of a brawler, and I've been able to kind of wear the guys down the past two fights and just get them kind of tired out, trying to get off their back. So I want to apply a lot more pressure this time on the stand-up, just in case he's prepared for the ground and pound. But kind of watching him, I doubt he's going to be that good on the ground. So I'll probably just drag him to the mat and finish it that way.
Right. It seems like you do a lot of film study on your opponents. Does your team help you out with that breakdown, your coaches? Or?
Yeah. We'll sit down and we'll definitely go over some tendencies. My corner guys are typically there with me as well when we're watching film, just because they're going to be the ones sitting there fight side with me and kind of giving me tips during the fight. But yeah, definitely, if there's any film on anyone I'm going to fight, like take the time and kind of figure out, some things he does well, some things he doesn't do well. But there's honestly not much difference between this guy and the guy I beat at the last 209 breakdown. They're kind of like shaped and built the same. And they kind of have like the same fighting styles too. So it kind of feels like I'm fighting Faraz again, but we'll see if he brings something different in the actual ring. So.
Right on. You're a heavyweight, big heavyweight. It seems like it's kind of hard. Like, do you have trouble getting training partners?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is like, even back when I was living in Stockton a few years ago and I was training it used to be Cesar Gracie. Now it's Nick Diaz Academy. Even there, like it's just hard to find bigger dudes to roll with. Either, they're not really competing in it or they're kind of half-assing it. It varies, but if I can get like at least a decently strong light heavyweight that's like, if he's cutting from like 225 to 205, even at 225, it's good enough work. But yeah, it's pretty tough to find consistent training partners.
And did you get into martial arts to lose weight or?
No, so I mean, I just grew up watching. Everyone grows up watching it, like watching Pride fighting, stuff like that, and then just overall being a competitor, played college football, and I just I've always had a weird respect for just fighting in general, whether it's like a street fight or boxing, whatever it may be. So wanted to kind of play my card in it, started training in Stockton. They kind of got me real interested in it. And then it was just jiu-jitsu. And then obviously you kind of branch out into wrestling, sambo, doing some boxing, things like that. But yeah, I originally just did it out of like competitive. Like I'm a competitor. I just kind of like that aspect of it.
Where'd you go to college at?
I played football at NAU, Northern Arizona. So it's D1 AA. I played D tackle. That was about 50, 60 pounds ago, believe it or not.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you got to be really talented to play that position. It's strength and speed and agility, everything.
I think it's translated a lot, especially to the ring, at least for explosiveness. Like obviously the technique is something you got to learn, but overall athleticism and just physicality is something that at least I know I have that in the bag. You know what I mean?
Right. A victory here, you're pretty much right on top of like the state rankings, I would say. Do you see it like maybe a state title? Would you want to compete for that, the camo?
Yeah. So having the 209 belt is great right now. Obviously, you want to have as many belts from as many different promotions or whatever it is as you can, especially when you're coming up amateur. But Depending on how this fight goes, I think I want to try one more amateur fight, go for like hopefully go 4-0, and then really start digging in and preparing to try to go professional, see if I can make a living out of this thing.
Right. Would your training style change if you once you go pro?
Yeah, definitely. It would just, for one, I just need to be a lot more locked in. Sometimes, you can go a few weeks or a few months and it's like you're really dialed into it, but it's still amateur, it's not your main focus yet. When I make the decision to like go pro, then that's when it's just going to be one of those things where that's what I'm doing. I might, leave my career here at Yelp and then, really, take a pay cut, do something that's going to give me a lot more time to be in the gym. But yeah, the only difference in the training style will be just kind of pumping up the intensity and the frequency.
And would you maintain heavyweight or?
Yeah, I definitely don't want to cut weight. One, don't want to cut weight, and two, it's one of those things where it's just like to be honest, I think I said this in an earlier interview. You look at heavyweights, whether they're in Bellator or whether they're in the UFC, wherever it is. I mean, it's like one or two guys and then a bunch of kind of average fighters. The heavyweights have never been a division where it's like ultra competitive, like maybe like the bantamweight division, or maybe thinking about the light heavyweight division, even the middleweight division. It's like heavyweights, you have one or two guys competing, and then the rest of them are just. So no, I mean, I think the quickest path to success, at least for me in MMA, would be sticking it out at heavyweight and throwing with the big boys.
Yeah, I mean that just goes to the culture. Like the sport's so young. Big athletic guys play football. That's where the money is.
Exactly, football, basketball, stuff like that. So
yeah, but it's coming. Times are changing.
yeah, I mean, as you start to see it become more mainstream, I mean, you see a lot more endorsements, things like that. It's becoming a lot more accepted as a sport, and not just kind of like the way they used to see it as just kind of a brutal street fight. I think people are starting to really appreciate like the ins and outs and the nuances of grappling and striking, and how intelligent and how much practice you got to have to make it look as easy as some of these guys do.
Do you get that you're in sales? Do you have to, when people ask like what do, you say you fight, do you have to like explain that at all?
Sometimes, but actually most of the building, I mean, a lot of them, or quite a few of them came to my first fight, so they kind of get the gist of it. But I mean, a lot of them here, I mean, everyone's pretty much got an idea of MMA. You know what I mean? As it's become a little more mainstream. But yeah, sometimes I gotta explain to them that yeah, I do step into a cage with another grown man and fight each other basically for fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So any training partners you want to shout out? Any sponsors? Anyone helping you out for this camp?
Yeah. So I'm actually gonna be being sponsored by All Greens in Arizona. My buddy Anthony Harrington, he used to run a dispensary as the first drive-through dispensary in the country, and now he's taking it more to the financial side. Those guys are going to be sponsoring me, so I'll have one of their tags on my shorts for the fight. But I'm really low key when it comes to training and sponsors, things like that, because it's still amateur. Training partners vary. I don't really have consistent training partners. I don't really train consistently at the same place yet. So I don't really have a home to kind of shout out yet, but it's coming. It's coming.
Do you have your cornerman locked in? Do you know who's going to be in your corner that night?
Yeah, so it's same cornerman from the first two fights, and they did a great job. They've done a great job for both of them. In the first one, you can hear my brother in the film yell out the rear naked choke before I went in for it. Like, I took his back, wasn't really thinking about it, yelling for me to get my hooks in and get the choke in. And then in the second fight, they knew he was going to come out and try to, I mean, the guy was throwing some weird leg kicks, but they knew he was going to do it. So they're like, grab it, drag him to the mat, like, and finish the fight. And they've given good advice. And I think it really helps that they're not, they do a lot more of like the visual side of it. I don't really train with them per se, but they do so much film study that they understand like what's going on. And I think having it from like that outside perspective is also helpful, because they're not thinking about it. I don't know. They're not thinking about it completely how a fighter would think about it. They're a little more analytical about it too. So my brother Thomas and my brother Scott, yeah, they'll both be cornering me again.
Right. I guess your football background plays into that too, as far as like tape study and being disciplined and watching. And
Yeah, and training is important. Obviously, you got to get out there and do it, but you got to know what you're training for, which is why I think, film study, it's like the base. You start with film, then you go and train from what you've seen on the film.
All right, Mark. Well, you're the main event, 209 Beatdown 6. Tell the fans why they should purchase a ticket to come see you fight.
Two finishes. It's gonna be exciting. I'm gonna get everybody hyped up. I'm gonna put on a show. I think I haven't had a really boring fight yet, so expect something great. This time I'm gonna try to keep it on the feet a little more than I have in the past few. But why wouldn't you come watch it? The people's champ.
Right on. Do you have tickets available? Are you selling tickets?
Yeah, I'll be selling tickets. I think I got about 100 of them for now, but I think I got about 35 of them already claimed. So about 60, 65 tickets. Give me a shout out on Instagram or shoot me a text message and I'll hook it up.
You want to go ahead and drop your Instagram handle?
Yeah, the Instagram handle is Captain Underjan. So it's Captain Under, and instead of pants, it's JANTSS. Follow me on the IG, follow the journey, and don't be shy.
All right. I appreciate your time, Mark. It'll be 209 Beatdown 6, November 17th, Modesto, California, against Omar El-Sahlah.
And still the champion, baby.